welcome back for another...
I have no idea what number it is.
Another episode of Mindful Witchery. It's been so long. It's been like a month.
Yeah, I think like at least a month and a week or something like that. Much has been happening.
It's been crazy. I mean, with everything going on. I mean, you've had your adventures in Maine and in Vermont, and I've been trying to build something in the Catskills and wandering around the Catskills like a crazy lady, trying to find out history and things.
I bet they know you by now. People like have pictures of you like, I saw a ghost in the woods. Yeah, no, it's just Lori.
It's just Lori. No, I've actually found myself hanging out with the ladies from the Historical Society up there.
Awesome.
They're open on Saturdays, and I go up there and just kind of hang out. Just to see if I can catch information about.
Those are the people to know. Especially when you move to a new place and like they know.
I feel like when you meet the town historians up there, like it's amazing because they're like celebrities. Oh, you haven't met so-and-so? You haven't met Mrs. Wyckoff?
Yeah, they know everybody in
Here's
town.
Here's her address. You need to message her. When it turns out these people actually do have other jobs.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And they message you right away. Like you message them and say, I'm moving to Gilboa. I'm interested in knowing all the history about our place. This is where our place is. And they're right back at you. You know, it's amazing. And then the town over from there is called Esperance.
Esperance?
They have a story about the Esperance witch.
Oh.
And so I found out the celebrity / historian in town, and I got to him, and he had written an article, a whole huge article about the Esperance witch for the New York Times.
Cool.
And he sent me the article, and it was so small. Like he sent it's really small, but it's really neat. It's all the history of that whole Schoharie Valley. You got to meet the right people, and the town historians are the right people. And every town has a town historian. I don't think Belchertown has a town historian.
They should.
Why don't we have town historians?
I wonder. Yeah, I don't know. I feel
if you are the town historian for Belchertown and you're listening to this by some happenstance right now, please message me because I want to know who you are.
I mean, there's people on the board for the Belchertown State School, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's people. So I wonder if it's the same.
Yeah, I wonder if it's a town historian. I'm going to have to ask and find out because that is the neatest. Can you imagine being called the town historian? That makes you the wisest.
So honored.
That makes you the wisest person. And these people are... it's no small shakes as far as education. The man that contacted me from the Esperance Museum, that's the town historian, he has his doctorate.
That's
these people aren't just town volunteers. These are, pretty significant people in town, which I love.
I love historians. I just I could listen to your stories.
Aren't they amazing, town historians? Because they know everything. You can ask them anything. Like, oh yeah, he's related to... It's like they know the town family tree.
Yeah, I love history so much.
Maybe I could be the town historian one day.
You can pass the torch, Lori.
Yeah.
This is going to be your future.
My future as the town historian.
And then people will be telling your story. We had a witch historian.
Yes, we had a historian who was a witch. Yes.
So... Oh my God.
You've got to catch me up on everything that you've been doing. Catch us up. Catch us up on everything that's been going on in your life.
I don't remember the last time we got together because so much has happened and nothing has happened. So I went to Maine with Carson over the 4th of July weekend. I probably mentioned on here before, but my dad owns a cabin up in the middle of nowhere. Maine, I can't even describe to you where it is because you'll never find it.
Well, anything in Maine, usually you can't describe where exactly it is. So
people think Maine and they think like the beach and like Old Orchard and like, like that. Yeah, all that Kittery. But no, up. Keep going.
Keep going
So
north.
it's near the Canadian border. And there's
awesome.
actually a lot of Native American reservations up there. Mm-hmm. Like a lot. Like you literally, my dad actually took me on this couple hour drive on dirt roads through the middle of nowhere, the perfect place to hide a body type of thick woods. You know what I mean? But he was just oh, we just passed reservation land, and in about a mile we'll pass through another Indian tribe reservation land. And I don't remember the names of them, which I guess I'll know someday, but just hundreds and hundreds and thousands of acres, and oh my God, Lori is gorgeous. It rained the whole time. We were there, but we had a great time.
Maine.
Got to see some people I haven't seen for a long, long time, not since I was a kid, and it was just cool to socialize. And I ended up just sitting by the water one of the days just to get it's if nobody's on the water in their boat or you don't hear anybody talking, complete silence.
Oh, that's amazing.
Like, I hear my ears ringing at night. It's so quiet. And it's like, there's like nothing more peaceful than that.
Do you think it's true? Like, I've talked to people before who said that they don't like silence. Do you think it's true that everybody needs silence? I do.
No. I do.
Yeah.
I don't think everybody
Mm-hmm.
does. Like, my opinion of what silence is
Mm-hmm.
varies so much from the people around me. Like, people have come into my house, like my apartment, I've talked about it before, it's the noisiest place I've ever lived. I'm like, oh, I don't hear anything. And there's like trucks going by and like dogs barking. Like, oh, it's quiet here. I'm like, what?
You get
like,
adjusted to noise. Like, certain noises just come through as nothingness because you hear them all the time. Like, I feel like it's very quiet here, but people will walk in here sometimes and go, gosh, it's loud here for a condo community.
People, it's amazing. That's kind of interesting. Like, people think, like, to me, silence is, there is nobody within like 100 miles of me. Like, there is no noise. I need like void.
Like a vacuum.
Void. Yes. Yeah. That to me is perfect silence. And even if the people around me aren't talking, that's not silence to me. That's not me being alone. Like, I need to be alone. like
one of those sensory deprivation chambers where you go in and float.
Dream. That's dream for me.
If it wasn't so small.
It wasn't so claustrophobic. Yeah.
I would be good with that. But yeah, I don't know that I've been in total silence in a really, really long time. It just doesn't happen often. Even when I'm up in the Catskills and I'm sitting in the middle of the woods, there's still birds chirping.
Yeah, there's still birds.
Yeah, there's still birds. And occasionally I'll hear from the farm that's down the mountain from us, I'll hear, a tractor or something like that.
Yeah.
But that's as close to silence. I don't even know, besides sensory deprivation chambers, I don't know where you could go to get silence. Wow.
My dad's house. And, like, he's super extroverted. So, like, he talked the whole time. But, like, there was a few moments where there's one, Carson and I went on this walk. Because, like, there's a ton of dirt roads to even get to his house. And I was like, oh, my God, Carson, stop. And we just stopped. Lori, no birds, no nothing. And I'm just like, I just heard my own heartbeat, like, and then a car drove by. But, like, I was like, oh, my God.
But still, like, for that moment, for that second,
Like, to me, that's witchy to me. Like, when I could fully connect to the environment around me. And I just, like, you can hear the little, like, rustle of, like, the chipmunks going through the trees. And I needed that. I didn't realize how much I needed that.
Because those are the precious things that cars cover up, conversations cover up, just general noise of living around people cover that kind of thing up.
Yeah. What's your least favorite noise that you hear constantly?
I would say, because it's in the summertime and I just don't get any peace in the summertime, the air conditioner.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people like that sound because it's white noise.
Yeah.
But I do not like this. It's like,
Yeah.
It really is. My air conditioner sounds like,
Yeah, mine does too. When you turn it on, like, it goes, like, I don't know.
Like this bubbly water sound.
Yeah.
Like the compressor is starting to work.
Yeah, I like it at night. But we have to have us on all the time just to block out the noise. I'd rather have AC noise than all the other
What about you? What's your least favorite noise?
Background noise-wise? People talking.
Yeah.
People need to stop talking. Like, it's, yeah, I know, that sounds so mean. But
no, but it's true.
Like,
the nip, 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 nip. It starts to sound like a droning kind of, a droning, draining kind of sound. It drains you.
You know what it is? The volume of people's voices and, like, the pitch of people's voices. Like, there's people out there, I'm like, why are you talking that loud? Why are you screaming when you're, like, when you get excited, you don't need to scream. Like, and it's probably why I can't be around children that much because,
that's hard. It's a lot.
Screaming.
It's a lot of sound. Like,
it's a lot of noise.
I come home in the afternoons and I can't even turn on my radio in the car. I just like the sound of the car engine, just hearing it. I mean, we have, babies. They scream. That's toddlers.
Yeah.
They yell. It's kind of the natural way of things. There's not really any way to stop it. But after a while, you just need some quiet. So when I come home, I turn off the radio. I don't listen to anything. I don't talk to myself. Which I'm really bad for talking to myself. I don't even talk to myself. I just drive.
There.
I just drive. And it's like 20 minutes before I get home, and I get that just enough time to where I'm ready to come in the house and hear, Mom, I need this, Mom, I need that. You know, when's supper? What's for supper? Like 42 times. And
I'm hungry.
Yeah, I'm hungry. What are you doing?
There's nothing in the fridge.
Did you have a good day?
Shopping.
Yeah. Did you have a good day? Which I love, but I'm like, I'm not ready.
Yeah, give me.
I'm not ready.
Mama needs a second.
Mama needs a second in the bathroom. Yeah. First thing I do is come home. I don't necessarily have to pee, but I go in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And just kind of
shut the door.
Shut the door.
Yeah.
It's quiet, even though the cat's meowing because it hasn't seen me all day, or Sammy, our dog, is following me around or something. It's still the bathroom is sanctuary for at least 5 minutes.
It's amazing how we get used to the constant noise around us, because there is, right? There's constant noise around us. Some people don't hear it. Mm-hmm. Some people don't mind it because I don't know why, but like less sensitive to it, I guess. But
it's like people who live in big cities.
Yeah.
I guess you do just get used to it. Like, I get used to the sound of kids crying and making a lot of noise at the daycare.
Yeah.
I don't notice it. I don't. I mean, I can talk right through it.
Yeah, you can tune it out after a while.
And even having a conversation, like, have a conversation with the director, and we'll hear kids screaming.
Yeah.
But we know they're safe. We know they're with other people, so we don't have to go out and intervene.
Yeah.
And it just we just keep talking.
You just drown it out, right? Yeah, yeah. It's amazing how we can do that. Because I'm sure there's certain things that, like, I hear that I just don't notice, right? But, yeah, noise is a big one for me.
Imagine, I always think about people who have, like, sensory integration issues and how that must feel. Like, it's a negative sensory integration where you don't hear things, but some people have that overstimulation from the sounds they hear, and it's like they can hear somebody talking in this ear and somebody talking in this ear, and then a conversation going on across the aisle at the grocery store, and they hear every word.
That's me.
Oh God,
that's what happens to me, and then I'm like, but when it's like, I've learned to consciously tune it out, but it's not always possible. Like, when you got that anxiety too, and I could literally hear like it almost feels like somebody all of a sudden turns the radio up, and I could hear everything. Like, I hear the bird outside, I'm hearing it chirp, and then I hear
and a lot of it's my visual too.
Yeah.
A lot of it is my visual, because if it's very bright in here, like in my house, if I've got the curtains open and things like that, I hear more too. It's all kind of an all-encompassing sensory overload sort of thing.
Oh my God. Do you turn the radio down when you are looking for something in the car?
All the time.
I did it this weekend. Carson's like, is turning that down going to make you find the exit? I'm like, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm like,
absolutely.
It's too much. I need to focus.
Absolutely. I do that too. I turn down the volume so I can hear the sign coming up.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Silence is golden, man. I think, for me anyway, I know that there's a lot of people who it makes them uncomfortable. I think silence puts you too close to yourself, and it makes you go inward. Like those people that are on that show Alone.
Oh, Lori. Have you seen the 7th season yet?
Yes.
Okay, we just finished it.
I love that show so much.
We called who was going to win.
It is.
We knew it.
That show is so real. I've always said, and what always bothered me about the show Survivor, because I still like to watch Survivor. I like that show. I like watching contests where people have to kill each other off. But I used to make a joke and say the only way that this is going to be for reals is if everybody dies. And the one person who's living is the survivor.
Like Hunger Games?
But I'll tell you, this show, Alone, comes as close to being my ideal survivor situation as any show ever has, because they go deep. These people,
they're like up near the Arctic Circle.
Yeah. And the new one where they're on this place called Grizzly Mountain.
Oh, don't tell me, but I haven't seen that.
There are people, and they talk about the things that you really think about. I always think, how do they deal with not having people around to talk to?
Yeah.
And they talk about what that's like. And this one guy was talking about how just the quiet, even though you hear the birds and you hear the trees snapping in the wind, things like that, you hear the water, they're near the water, it still put him so closed in to himself. He had to look so far inward, and there were so many things that he realized that he had to work on, things he needed to do, that he left. That was the reason. He wasn't injured, he wasn't sick, he just couldn't deal with being so close to himself, into himself. And that's what silence does for people.
Yeah. We're not really taught to deal with that. And I agree. Alone, we're obsessed. Carson and I are obsessed. But I think I love watching it. I love watching all those shows like people living in the middle of nowhere, Alaska. I love all those shows, and I hate being cold. I don't like winter. I could never live there. But watching them just live in such like independence and isolation and living off the land, and even watching Alone, my witchy paganness comes out because it's so real.
It's so real, and it's so earthy.
It's so real.
And it's just everything that... And everything that they do, and I hate to say this, but I'm the one who will sit there and criticize everything they do because I've watched every season, and I know I've seen people make the same mistake. I'm like, you guys had to have watched the previous seasons,
right? It's like, why didn't you bring a gill net?
Yeah, why didn't you bring gilly net? Yeah, what are you doing? And why did you just drink that water without boiling it first?
Yeah, this guy ate like blood or whatever, and we're like, no, he didn't get sick.
Crap, you know. It is. It's one of those things where I feel like I can sit there and talk about it. And the thing is, I will freely admit, I would never do that. I would never go somewhere by myself that way. I don't know how to build a shelter. I don't know how to do any of that stuff. I don't know how to shoot a deer. I don't know if I would if I could.
I've learned a lot from that show, though.
Yes, I have.
Totally.
What was it I learned last night about... oh my gosh, I've learned so much from that show. But I'll have to remember. There was something I learned last night that I was shocked about, and Roger was like, "You didn't know that?"
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me when you remember.
Yeah, I learned so much from that show, and I learned about people and human nature more. I think that show is innovative in that way. It really teaches you about human nature and what we can and can't endure.
Yeah, the psychological implications I find fascinating.
Yes.
I forget her name. I think her name was Jay Lee. She's on the 7th season, and she was talking about she went through so much struggles between like being fully capable. She was so capable of being there. We didn't like her personally, like her personality, but like so much respect for the things she knew and she wanted to, but she missed her family so much. And just seeing her grapple with what's important, like this money or being home or like my health, having to, the way these people balance the importances in their life is at such a raw moment is so fascinating.
And it's like an epiphany. All of them have these epiphanies before they leave the show, before they make that phone call, before they tap out. They have these epiphanies, whether it's because they're ill, which I find, I mean, more people are psychologically drained and tap out than people who actually are ill or have been injured. But how they grapple with it and how they justify it.
Yeah.
Especially the people who talked shit beforehand. There's one guy, he's on the 8th season. I don't want to give too much away if you guys watch this. But there's one guy who talks a lot of shit before he leaves. I'm going to be the one. I do this. I do that. I've been out in the woods by myself for 25 days. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. What he neglects to tell you is he has a heart condition and he had a heart attack the year before. So he goes on the show having talked all this shit, and then all of a sudden, he's 6 days in without food. He hasn't caught anything to eat. He's been 6 days without meat. There's not a lot of vegetarians on this show. Because you need the protein.
Has there even been one?
No.
I mean, you can't.
You have to have the protein, and you don't have the protein resources other than meat.
No, there's no vegan butter out there in the Arctic.
I think I'll have some vegan cheese.
Some diet cheese.
I'll make some vegan cheese, yeah. But he ended up almost having another heart attack because he wasn't getting the right amount of stuff that he needed. This man, as much as I understand that he was scared and he was crying and he was really worried that he was going to have another heart attack, I miss my family. What if I never see my family again? He was thinking all these things. But I go back to, he was talking so much shit that it became, once he found out he was okay, he began to rationalize his behavior. Yeah. And it's just, those are the people that I don't like. Yeah. They're the people who talk all this shit beforehand and then they come in and they're not ready for it. Yeah. And I'm saying this, I would never be ready for it. Not in a million trillion years would I ever be ready for it. I don't even like to go camping. So, no. I had enough trouble with my husband talking me into getting a camper. So, I'm like, that's roughing it.
How many beds does it have? How many beds? Like 6 sheets?
Yeah. Or... Does it have pop-outs so we have more room?
Let's talk about this.
What's going on here? But that show fascinates me. I can't wait for another season. Like I'm already talking about when season 9.
Oh my god, I cannot.
It's so real.
Stop thinking about it. Like we finished like a week or two ago, and it's so I jumped on like the watching Alaskan shows train. Since I'm like I needed to watch something.
I needed to watch somebody get killed off. Yeah,
I'm like, could I do that? Okay, like Carson thinks I would die in like a week, but I'm like, okay, so like I don't know about the Arctic. Like given a situation like that, I think I could do really well. Even though, like,
I think you could.
I love my hotel and I love, but
I think you could too, because I think that psychologically you would have it down.
I think so too.
I mean, even if you had to struggle physically, your mind wouldn't allow you to give up.
No, like I feel like I have that in me where I can literally like, block everything out. Like I would still cry. I would still do all that, but I think I would do okay.
You'd figure it out as you went along because your mind wouldn't let you stop.
Yeah, I can't. I look at loopholes with everything. Like, I look at outs with everything. So, I don't know. I think about it sometimes, like, I think it's because I appreciate it so much. Like, and maybe it's because of COVID. I don't know. But I'm really reconsidering all my values. Like, I'm revisiting. That's a better word. I'm revisiting what's important to me.
Taking inventory.
All my values. Me as a person and how much I've changed. Because I think the past 2 years I've changed so much, and I don't know yet if it's for the better or in more negative ways. I'm not sure. Lori and I were talking about this, how like I've been not a hot mess, but actually I've been super pessimistic lately, and you know, and like watching a show like this just really makes me kind of like reconsider all of that.
These are some special people, man. These are, I mean, if you look deep into their psyches and you sit there and you watch and you kind of watch it, you know, and you're like, man, you watch it beyond what a lot of people watch it for. Yeah. Like, I'm watching it and I'm going, what must you have in your mind?
I'm strategizing.
Not just the mechanical, like the logistical knowledge. I mean, knowing how to build a shelter. Like, what in your mind is allowing you to continue to move forward with this when these things happen? Like, you can't find food. Most of these people suffer without being able to fish. Not being able to get fish, not being able to get rabbits. I mean, there was one woman on there who caught rabbits like it was nobody's business.
Right? Yeah.
And made a coat.
Yeah.
You know, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. It's the panic.
Yeah. It's what do you do when the panic sets in? What do you do when even you're out in the middle of nowhere in this vast place, but you're still claustrophobic. There's the machinations of somebody's mind when they're doing these extreme things is just, this show needs to win Emmy after Emmy after Emmy. If you haven't watched Alone, all of the episodes are on Netflix. Yeah. So you can watch from season 1 to season 8.
We're going to start over. We've seen random seasons.
I could watch it over and over.
We're going to start.
Now, have you seen kind of akin to this, which I'm a fan of, is the Boonies? You seen the Boonies? This is a whole series about 4 people who live either beyond the grid, outside the grid, above the grid, or below the grid.
Whoa.
So there is a man who lives in caves in Arkansas.
Whoa.
There is a man who lives on an island in the middle of an archipelago in Lake Michigan. There is a man and his wife who live in a treehouse out in the middle of nowhere. And there is a man who is basically a nomad who lives on the prairies in Idaho with his horse and his teepee.
Oh my God.
And if you've not watched the Boonies...
No, where do you watch it?
It's on National Geographic, and I think it's Hulu.
Oh, okay.
It's Hulu.
We have Disney Plus now, so
nice.
It might be on that.
Yeah, it could be.
No, that's the Discovery Channel.
But to see how these people live is amazing to me. Like, this man that lives underground in these caves.
It blows my mind.
It's unbelievable. I mean, the man has a shower. It's cold water, ice cold, but it has a shower. He literally lives there. And the only time he ever goes into town is in the winter. Right before winter, he has to prepare. He has to get stuff to light his lantern. He has to get canned foods. He has to get all those things. And he's lived under there for 4 years.
Wow.
There was even a point where there was an earthquake, and it shut off his entrance.
Oh.
Yeah, immediately I'm panicking. I can't watch this. And he found a way out on the other side. He was calm. The cameraman was in there with him. He was calm and just by patience alone found his way out the other side.
That's amazing.
It was amazing. And the guy that lives in the middle of the archipelago in Lake Michigan,
that's crazy.
He eats fish basically all the time.
Respect.
Total respect. And these people left their way of life for different reasons. And I guess when I watch this show, I think, why did they leave?
Yeah.
You know, what psychologically has them damaged to the point where they have to do this? I automatically think you're psychologically damaged to want to live in a
Something
cave.
Terrible must have happened.
Well, the man that lives in a cave, his wife died.
Oh.
And they used to love to go caving. And he said, I know that she would love what I'm doing right now.
Is it like furnished and stuff?
No, it's just he's sitting on rocks and building a fire. And it's crazy.
It's almost like complete... like people go on journeys, like walks, like in Australia.
Yep.
It's kind of like that. It's like you're almost like trying to experience like an ego death or a soul death to kind of like reinvent yourself, get new perspective, or all of that.
It is. It's amazing. Yeah. It's amazing that because you watch them as they struggle, and because there are struggles out there. They don't just tell you, oh, this is what's great about it. You get to ride along the plains of Idaho on your horse and have a teepee and live out of a teepee. No, they have to face real challenges like wintertime. Mm-hmm. What do you do in the wintertime? The people that live in the treehouse in the middle of nowhere, they had to worry about a fire that they lived in. It was, I think it's Washington State.
Oh, wow.
And they were worrying about this fire that was getting closer and closer to where they live. The only thing I don't get about them is that that's not their land. They're living in the middle of a national forest. They live so far in that they wouldn't be caught. It's not their house. They're squatters.
Yeah.
Basically. I mean, I'm not trying to condemn anybody for what they're doing. You're there, whatever. But they're squatters. And I remember one episode where they got mad because somebody else was building a treehouse a half a mile away. Like, dude, this isn't your property. You're squatting just like they are. As a matter of fact, this might be their property.
Oh, my God.
I don't know. But they're kind of a mystery to me. I think as the fire moved toward where they were, I don't think they were so worried about the safety was there. I think they were worried somebody was going to find them.
Yeah.
That's what I think. Of course, I'm thinking the worst.
Yeah.
But those are the only ones.
It makes sense.
Those are the only ones I don't like. They bother me.
Yeah.
There was one situation where they were getting ready for winter. He put up solar panels because the wife is allergic. I've never heard of this in my life. But please tell me if you have this because I'd love to know. She's allergic to cold weather.
I've heard of that.
Anything under 50 degrees, she gets
breaks out.
Welts. And big, huge,
I've heard of
itchy welts. That's so bizarre. Why would you move into a treehouse in the middle of nowhere in the wintertime when you know this about yourself? I don't understand it. I guess I'm giving them a hard time because I'm not really crazy about it.
Yeah.
The other people, I get it. The guy that has the teepee, he knows the meaning of life. Honest to goodness, he's wise beyond wise. I could go to him and talk for days and figure out my whole destiny for the rest of my life.
That's awesome.
Amazing. The guy that lives in the middle of the archipelago, he's awesome.
Yeah, it's like I get it.
Yeah,
right?
I totally
get it.
Totally get why you would do this. I always just look at all of them have a different reason for being there. It's not, and none of them say it's to be isolated from people. It's all, I came here to learn something about myself. I came here to learn something about who I can be. Yeah. Because I know I've not reached that point yet. I'm looking for the best person I can be. I think that's super cool. If I could do it.
You have to put yourself, or not maybe put yourself, but sometimes you have to make the choice to put yourself through something really difficult and scary to be able to truly know yourself. And especially people who've gone through any type of tragedy or trauma, are probably the first people to say, what I've learned from that has made me a better person, or I gained so much perspective about the world. And, do you think from COVID, just everything that's happened, do you think that people are going to come out saying that?
I hope so. I mean, I hope that people can say that they've reached a point where they're living their best life, where they're their highest and best. But I don't know that you can ever really say that. I think we're always evolving.
Yeah.
I think there's
no end.
Yeah,
that's
there's
really,
no end.
I think that's the misconception. We're taught, oh, if you get this, that's it. That's the end. But
final destination.
No.
There is no final destination.
There is no end. You reach a goal and there's going to be another one. That's not, you don't just stop, right?
What is this? They say it's the journey, not the destination.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's where we all are. I think that we're all searching for, and that's where things get tough, because I think we all look for that destination. Like you said, we've been taught that we have to have a destination. There has to be some destination to this. You can't just keep journeying. You need to find who you are. You need to find out who you are. Well, I'm not the same person that I was even yesterday. No. I mean, I continue to evolve and learn. Yeah, I think learning's the big thing. Yeah, learning's the big thing. I think the more I learn, the more I learn, the more I can teach, the more I can help, the more I can be the person that I want to be. But then there's no end to that. Once I'm that person, there's going to be something else. We continually evolve. And I think the more you embrace that, the less restricted you are.
Yeah. Yeah. The less pressure there is to get things done in a certain amount of time. Or, like, I'm not going to lie, I fall under those pressures all the time.
Oh,
but, like, also knowing the perspective, too, this is just now, and it's not always going to be this way, you know. But, you know, we're taught that there is I think that's the issue. Right? Like, we're taught that there is sometimes, like, once you get the house, once you get the kids, you'll be happy. And
it's got to be this way, in this order.
Do you think it's generational, too? That kind of popped into my head. Like, you know, different, maybe, like, 50, 60 years ago, that was a little more attainable, right? Like, you get the house, you get the job, you make the money, you go to college, and I feel like it's a lot more obtainable. I could be wrong. I didn't know back then.
I think it's true. I think that there was this 9 to 5 mentality. And there can't be that 9 to 5 mentality because we're not 9 to 5ers anymore.
No.
I mean, there are very few places that still exist where, like, my dad worked in a furniture factory for 40 years. Yeah. My mother worked in a furniture factory for 30 years. They went to work every morning, got to work at 7, came home at 3:30.
Yeah, that doesn't happen.
Every day. And they were off on weekends.
Oh, my God.
Always. And, you know, it's funny because I kind of for a long time designed my life around, I don't want to work Saturdays and Sundays. Yeah. And part of that was, and I'm still a little rigid. If somebody asks me for a Reiki appointment on Saturdays, I will 9 times out of 10 say no. Because that's my Saturday, Sunday is my time for my family, my kids, my husband. But it's more than that. It's ingrained in me because I watched my parents do that.
Exactly. Like, that's the weekend, or like summers when everybody has off.
Oh, here we go. We're going to go take a drive. It's Saturday. We're going to go take a Sunday drive after church.
It's not realistic.
Yeah, it's just, you can't do it anymore.
And, like, even maybe back then, I mean, there were so many issues going on with, like, women's rights and stuff. I'm like, leave it to Beaver. Yeah. Type of, like women stay home.
Mom stayed home. Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting. I find, like, the history of our work ethic and society so fascinating. It's because I'm studying it, and I'm like, this is so fascinating, and why things happen the way they do. And why are we in the mess that we're in now? Because we are in a mess. I think one of the worst messes, I mean, I didn't look through the other ones, but this is pretty bad.
Yeah, we didn't transition well into this whole era that we're in right now. It just kind of happened. Yeah. And nobody really talked about it. It just sort of happened. Yeah. Here we are, not 9 to 5ers, not really knowing what to do with ourselves because we were raised by 9 to 5ers.
Yeah, who think that you get paid normal.
Yeah, like and that you get paid the same amount every week. My dad worked a week; he got paid at the end of the week. It was the same amount he got last week. Boom, 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 boom. It's just not that way anymore. It's not.
People have to jump from job to job. You don't just stay, because half the jobs now don't offer benefits.
I mean, I think about all that. I have like 4 jobs. Yeah. And how all that mess gets done, I don't know from week to week what I'm going to get paid. Thank goodness I'm not the main breadwinner, because if I were, we'd be in a whole other state of affairs.
Yeah, and people wonder why there's so much mental health issues and, like, people stressing out, and people, you know, I've been reading so much about restaurants having to close down for the day because patrons have been so nasty to, like, the waitresses and stuff. Yeah. They're probably stressed out as it is because we're not getting paid enough. And
it happens here. It happened here. McCarthy's Pub in Belchertown, it had to change their hours because they just didn't have enough people to come in and work.
Yeah. And, you know, an opinion on that is people just don't want to work anymore. And I'm like, that is just too general. And
that's a big generalization. Yeah.
So this is what I've been thinking a lot about the past couple weeks. I've actually, like, I was telling Lori, like, not that I'm, like, forever changed. I'm a really optimistic person, but I'm almost allowing myself to not be pessimistic. I've been a little more pessimistic, but really feel how I'm feeling. And I haven't been the most enjoyable person to be around. I'm not, like, taking out on anybody, but I've just been kind of really evaluating one, actually, who I am as a witch, and it's probably why I haven't done any witchy stuff, because I'm like, where do I stand with this? And I stand really good. I'm pretty grounded with who I am there. But, like, my values, like, I feel like everything was just thrown into the bin and, like, mixed around. And
like the junk drawer at my house in my kitchen right now.
And I just really want to unravel that.
Throwing the junk drawer out on a trampoline.
I know, and just see what you can catch. Yeah. And that's, and, like, where do I want to be? Who do I want to be? Because life is short.
And I always think about stuff like that. Like, what am I willing to go to the mat for? What, you know, I don't know that I was willing to argue with many people longer ago about me being a witch. If I hear if I'm in the middle of a conversation and somebody says something to me like, you know, they put me in a category, like we were talking about, that I'm, you know, I'm earthy crunchy, or I'm, you know,
that hippie
things like that.
God.
And I used to not be willing. I would just go, you know, they're ignorant. They don't know what they're talking about. But now I'm willing to go to the mat and say, no, that actually isn't me. You don't know me as well as you think you do.
Yeah.
This is who I am. Yeah. And I'll go on a tangent about, this is who I am. This is what witchery means to me. This is why I call myself a witch. And it's not the reason. Yeah.
Like, you can't just generalize people like that.
And that's hard, because we've gotten messages from people who haven't come out of the broom closet yet, and I feel so badly for them. Because there's no freedom like being able to go to the mat for your causes and your beliefs, and if you're not ready for that yet, that's totally okay. I wasn't ready for it. For goodness gracious, I mean, I'm almost 53. And when was I ready? 52.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I knew I was a witch, but I wasn't going to tell anybody else that.
Yeah.
Now everybody knows I am.
Yeah.
I mean, it just happens that way. I wear my pentagram with pride.
It's like you integrated this part of yourself into your outside world.
Exactly. It's my outside world. Everybody I work with knows that I'm a witch, and they, you know, they even ask me about things sometimes, and I'm happy to talk about it. But it's so hard when you're still in the broom closet.
It's scary.
And we've talked to people on Facebook and through Messenger who are still struggling with that and just aren't ready yet, and have asked questions like, "How do I know when I'm ready? How do I do this?" You'll know when you're ready. You will know when you're ready, and not a moment before. Even if you have a family who doesn't necessarily embrace witchcraft and all that it means, you'll get your opportunity.
Yeah, you will.
It might not happen right now. It might not happen tomorrow. It might not happen a year from now. But you will know when it's the right time, and you have to wait till it's the right time for you. Don't force yourself out into a situation where you're just not ready, because it just like any because I look at witchcraft, witches, as like a marginalized community. It's easier to deal with, obviously. But it is marginalized, and people do have a certain stigma attached to it. So if you're willing to come out and talk about it, you kind of have to be willing to, along with that, be willing to educate.
It's a responsibility.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's your responsibility as a witch. If you're ready to not be a solo witch and be a secret witch, it is your responsibility to be able to educate, because you're going to get all kinds of really crazy questions and assumptions about who you are. What do you mean you're a witch? You don't wear black all the time.
Yeah. Like, oh, you're casting spells. Like, you're going to hear it all. And, like, too, it's like, coming out looks different to different people, right? Coming out for you could just be wearing a pentagram or starting to have, like, herbal tea in the morning instead of coffee. You know, like, there's so many things. Like, I didn't just, like, come out, hey, everybody.
Guess what?
Guess what?
Yeah. And I think that's funny, because we have that dramatic look of, like, you're sitting at your family dinner at Thanksgiving and go, hey, everybody, I got something to say. I am a witch, a full-fledged black hat wearing, broom riding, spell doing witch.
You like reach down and grab your chalice and just look it on the table.
You know, as cool as that is, and you know what, guys, if you've done that, that's the coolest thing, and props to you, because that's pretty cool. It doesn't always end up being that. It's like Sarah said, you know, you go out, I wear my pentagram everywhere I go, and sometimes I get comments on it. Sometimes I just get stares. Sometimes I get nothing. Yeah. And you just have to kind of be willing, once you're ready to come forward and move forward out of that closet, you kind of have to be willing to educate people, because they might say something stupid.
Yeah.
And they do often. You know, well, what kind of spells do you cast? I'm not a spell casting witch. You know, I don't do a lot of spells.
Wrong person to talk to.
I don't do a lot of spells because I believe that the karmic way of life happens for a reason. There's a pattern in life. And when you do spells, you kind of abruptly disrupt that pattern. So I don't do spells. I'm not a spell casting witch. I mean, I will do tinctures. I'll do all kinds of things. I'll give you some lavender to help you sleep. I'll do those things, but I won't interfere in the trajectory that life is going in. So, you know, sometimes I have to say that to people because the first question is, do you do spells?
Oh, I'm having this problem. Like, you know what I love the way you explain that. Mm-hmm. But I've been, not as many people say that to me anymore, but what I've said before is, like, oh, so you know I'm a meditation teacher, right? So I'm like, how I incorporate that into my life is, I don't do spells, but I do a lot of affirmations. Because affirmations are something that I control. And I'm not trying to control elements around me, but I can control my own energy. So when I say affirmations, it makes me feel better. Like, I'm one with the earth, or like I'm feeling the soil, and it's
feeling grounded.
It helps me feel grounded, and that it's almost like because I'm using those words that people know, it takes away some of like
the stigma,
the misconception that it's not this big thing. I didn't come out. I just started subtly.
I don't think I actually did. I just kind of we started doing this program and. We just kind of, people just kind of knew and figured it out.
It's like subtly incorporating into my life. So it wasn't like just this super dramatic thing because like my life didn't change that much. Right. But I just started kind of slowly talking about it and like being like, yes, I'm pagan. I don't practice a religion, but like that's the closest it's going to get. But I think everybody kind of knew that already. But yeah, it's like but I know some people, right, that being pagan, being a witch is everything. Like that's their hobby.
That's their lifestyle. It's their life.
They are into it. They go to like all the conventions and which is awesome, right? And like that's what they do, but just being aware that there's totally different spectrums about
totally. And if you're, I don't know how we go on this topic, but it's a great topic.
I like it. It's a great topic.
But it is. I mean, I feel like some people really struggle with the idea of coming out of the closet and telling their families, telling the people they love. And if you're not ready, then you just wait till you are. That's what I think I said that to somebody on Facebook and Messenger. I said, wait until you are.
Yeah. And even asking yourself, why is it so important that I feel pressured to come out to my family or come out to my friends with this? Like just kind of ask yourself, like, why it's important.
What's your motivation behind it?
What's your motivation behind it?
Is it because you love them and you want them to know everything about you? Yeah. Is it you love it so much you want to share it with the people you love? Those are great reasons behind doing it. But if you just want to do it to get it over with, just wait.
A great way to feel comfortable is listening to podcasts.
Yeah.
Our podcast. But, there's so many, like, online things that you can be part of to learn more and books you can read that you can be around more of those like-minded people.
And I've heard people say before too, one of the challenges is you call yourself a witch because you do these certain things that make you a witch, or you read about, or you've been reading for over a year about reading things that witches do. But how do you go from being a reader to being a doer? And that's another struggle that people have. That's another thing that I've been seeing a lot lately pop up. Is how do I know when I'm ready to do a spell? How do I know when I'm ready to grow herbs and use them for tinctures? How do I know when I should sport my pentagram? And the answer to that is you'll know.
You'll know.
And
I know that's all I got.
As vague as that sounds, you will know. And you know what I think an important thing to remember, and I always answer it this way, is when you'll know you're ready to move beyond the books. When things don't have to be done in a straight order of how it tells you to in the book. It's like learning Reiki for the first time. Like I remember when I started doing Reiki, I did it exactly as I was told.
Yep.
Exactly as I was taught. By the book, boom, here's the book open. I got to do it this way. I got to do my infinity symbol in a certain direction. I have to move the chakras in a specific direction. Once you've gone beyond doing it the textbook way into doing it your way, then you're ready.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like learning anything new, right?
Exactly.
Like, when it's like incorporated in your thoughts, if you're out in the world and you start seeing things that you've read about, or like it starts being like, ooh, I'd love to go sit on that rock and meditate. Like, you know, like it will start incorporating.
Oh, here's a feather on the ground.
Yeah.
How can I use that with my, I could use that with my saging practice.
Right? It's so cool. I love this. This is awesome. Yeah, and I feel like we're talking about people coming out as gay, but like same kind of thing.
It's the same kind of concept.
Honestly,
it's not. I don't think it's the struggle. It's not necessarily that kind of.
No.
But I get
it could be.
It is exactly. It could be depending on what kind of family you have. I mean, if you're coming out as a witch to people who are Roman Catholic, it might be.
And you're gay, like
and you're gay.
Ooh, you know, we are so sorry.
Or you're bisexual, and you're a witch. I mean, there's all these things that come into play there. And I feel like I need to emphasize, because of the things that I've seen on our messenger and Facebook, just that know that one of the things about coming out is having a support system.
Yeah.
And you know what? If you can't find a support system anywhere else, we can be your support system.
100%.
We know what this is like. We know the challenges it brings, but we also have a support system. I mean, I feel like my husband, thank God, understands who I am.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jesus, because I don't know. I don't know what I would do without him supporting me. You're my support system. You know, and
I wouldn't be doing this, talking about this, if you weren't in my life, because you're really the only one. My friend Beth, awesome, who still needs to come on this podcast, by the way. Beth, I know you're listening. Like, we got to figure this out. You guys are gonna love her. But yeah, it's like you don't need a lot of people, but just having those people who understand you. Oh my God.
And send those messages through Facebook. Yeah. Let us know what you're struggling with, and we will try. If we can't help, we'll find something that will, or we'll just support you through. We will love you through it.
Totally. Like, we know a lot of different books you can read, or like different avenues. I'm really good at finding things. So,
or just saying yay because you came out to everybody. Yay.
Yeah, you can come out to us, send us a picture, little thumbs up with your pentagram.
Absolutely.
It'll be great.
Absolutely. And we do, as much fun as we have doing this, we know the struggles.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you need a support system, we are here. That's why we're doing it. That's why we're doing it. We said we want to be a support system for people who are struggling out there by being marginalized as a witch. And we, as much as we talk about other things, our primary focus is being able to make people help people feel comfortable with who they are.
Yeah. And knowing how easy it is to incorporate it in with your life too.
In little ways.
Little ways. And I think that's why we talk about everything else. Because we like to talk about everything else. But like us being interested in cemeteries, which is a huge one, and us being interested in New England, it's a huge aspect of who we are as people, but as being a witch as well. And just knowing that, like, even doing art or like any of your other hobbies, it can all incorporate.
Exactly. Yeah. You can integrate into your world, into your regular daily life, little ceremonies, little habits, little things that allow you to kind of build a bridge between work and the world and witchery. So wow,
that's good.
That's
good. Good episode. We talked about a lot. Thank you guys.
Thank you guys. We've got so much to look forward to, and I think in our next episode that might be what we talk about is what.
Yeah, we have a bunch
moving
of things.
Forward.
I know.
And thank you so much for being with us today, and we love you all, and we will see you soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.